No, because I'm too busy. I'm too busy being all self-indulgent about my own. So why would I imagine yours?
Okay, and Andrew, this is the podcast is all about us, and you just listen to us rant and
that works. That works.
You just happen to be lurking.
Do you mind if I eat my lunch then while you guys are
absolutely,
talking?
you can do absolutely everything. Andrew, you can launch your recording as well. It's don't worry about it if you can.
Okay. And that is recording.
Okay, cool. But by the way, Andrew, how was your day for you?
My day was great, actually. It's just really getting starting. It's only lunchtime here, so just getting around to my day. But it's been good so far. Been productive.
You're lucky because I had a shitty day, believe me. I think I beat you, Tim, as well in terms of shittiness of days. So I think anyway, let's go. Are you okay, Tim?
Talk about that. Yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm just looking at GarageBand, just make sure it's recording. And it is.
Yeah, you're not recording it. Oh man.
Yeah.
Mine's recording, but I can't imagine it's very exciting just yet.
Oh, it will. No, I think it will be. It's our top moment right now.
I was just going to say, you've not listened to any of the other podcasts, obviously, because I'm already thinking this is going to be in the top 3 for 2016.
Are you okay, Tim? Now you had. Is it recording? And I love your haircut, by the way. You look bolder than before. What happened to you? You lost all your hair now.
This is pretty normal, actually, mate. I always have a number 1 about every 3 weeks, so you're just not very observant.
No, I'm not observant at all. I think we are in couple for so long now. I cannot see you anymore. I think we need therapy together. Anyway, Andrew, welcome to this dysfunctional show. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And please,
I love a good dysfunction in the afternoon.
He's already regretting it.
Please don't hang up on us, please. I think we need some therapy, as we said. Anyway, Andrew Morrison, you are a builder, teacher, consultant, workshop leader, motivational speaker, author. Jesus Christ, man! You're doing all this stuff. It's impressive. So you are a professional builder as well for 20 years. So all this information, by the way, I've just take it out from your website, which is tinyhousebuild.com. See, I did all my research now.
Excellent.
And you're part of this tiny house movement. And by the way, Tim didn't know anything about it last week. Anything. So you just lied, Tim, or you did some research like.
He's a quick learner. He's a quick learner. He now knows it's about small houses, so that's a huge improvement.
I just put tiny house. Yeah, then thought homes, small maybe. I'm a fast learner. And
yeah, that's great. You're a fast learner, sure. But I wanted to have you here on this podcast, Andrew, because this tiny house moment was, I think the first time I've heard about that was 2 years ago, something like that. And there was like this picture popping up on Facebook all over the place. And everyone was like, wow, it's so great. It's fabulous. There was like this attraction about this tiny house thing, and then it's somehow it's I don't know if it's still going, but me myself, I'm in my 40s, and I'm thinking about buying a house right now, and I'm not convinced about buying what Tim has. Tim has a mansion with 6 bedrooms. Is in Orlando.
17.
Yeah, 17. Okay, I know. Sorry, my lord. Sorry about that. Yeah.
It's okay.
And really, I'm debating, and I think I have some friends as well debating about why should we buy these houses and stuff like this. So you're here basically because of me, because I want to figure it out what I should buy for myself, and my family. That's it. Okay. So it's a free consulting thing. No, but I'm kidding. but can you give us a little bit of background actually about yourself? What you do, and all this profession that you're doing, building, teaching, all these things.
Yeah, sure. So I've been, like you said, I've been a builder for about 20 years, professional builder. I've done everything from conventional housing to land development and created subdivisions. Done most of my construction work was in natural buildings. So I did straw bale construction for many years, and I teach classes on that all over the world.
Do you want to tell us what that is? Hang on. Hang on,
Sure, yeah.
bale
Straw bale
construction.
construction is kind of what it sounds like. You're basically building houses using straw bales as the insulation. They can also be used as a structural system. That's called load-bearing construction. Um, but basically, either way, you're using straw bales in the walls, which gives you 3 times the energy efficiency, 3 times the fire resistance, beautiful natural curves, incredibly soundproof. So there's all kinds of advantages of doing that, and obviously it's a natural material, so you don't have all the off gassing that you would have with gases and things like that from toxic materials. So it's a much healthier way to live as well. So I've been doing that for many years.
Sorry, can I just come in there? First of all, I thought you said strawberry construction. So, so straw bale construction makes a lot more sense. So that's the
Yeah.
first thing. Second of all, you said it's 3 times more fire resistant. Now, that as a complete layman doesn't seem to make sense as to, like, because straw bales, I would have thought were highly combustible, but obviously I'm wrong.
Yeah, well, that's actually it's a very common mistake, and the reason that they're so fire resistant is because they're very, very dense.
Right.
And if it's just loose straw will definitely burn. But if you pack it really, really tightly and then wrap it in render on the inside and outside, there's just no way for fire to spread. It's kind of like if you take paper, you can catch paper on fire pretty darn easily. But if you take a phone book and you hold a torch to it, it's going to take forever, if at all, if it'll ever burn, because there's no oxygen in between the pages.
Right.
So it's the same concept with bales of straw. They're super, super fire resistant.
Well,
And the strawberry house thing I have to comment on, because we built a cabin many, many years ago on our property when our kids were both very young. And since then it's ever been known as the strawberry house, because they thought when we were saying the strawberry or straw bale house, they were saying strawberry house. So yeah, you're not at least the first to think that.
Okay, and can you build a house out of strawberries?
Probably not.
Are we ruling it out?
That's a good question. With enough technology, maybe it's possible.
Okay, cool. So you're doing this, and I believe you. And I've read this on your website as well, that you went to the tiny house movement because you were living the American dream. You had this big house yourself, and it was kind of disappointing or something like that. Can you tell us this experience that you had?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we really were. We had the American dream going. We had a beautiful house. It was about 2,000 square feet. So what is that? Roughly 200 square meters, somewhere around there, I'm guessing. And it was beautiful. It had everything we wanted, but we slowly started realizing that it was costing us a lot financially for upkeep and just to make the monthly payments. And then there was also a lot of loss in our family dynamic, because the house was big enough that the kids would just sort of disappear into their bedrooms and close the doors. And so it was definitely affecting our family dynamic, which we didn't like at all. So we ultimately made some changes and moved towards, at first we were thinking, well, maybe we'll just get a smaller house, a slightly smaller house or something like that. And then we came across a book by Jay Schaefer, his tiny house book. He was basically he's the grandfather, if you will, of tiny house movement. And we're just totally inspired by it. And ultimately our son, at 14 years old, our son moved to Colorado to go to a boarding school and follow his dream of being an ice hockey player. And so it was just my 11-year-old daughter, my wife, and I, and we thought, well, we have a little pop tent trailer. Why don't we take that and drive down to Mexico? And so we lived on the beaches of Mexico for 5 months. And that space was really small. That had about floor space. It had about 14 square feet. There wasn't much room to walk around in there. It was
14.
absolutely 14. Yeah, it was basically we were living in a tent on the beach that happened to have a kitchen in it and a couple beds, and it was fantastic. The first month was pretty much hell. We kind of hated each other a lot because we were completely going through withdrawals. We had, we run internet-based companies. Our daughter is a typical U.S. teenager, so she's on Facebook and all kinds of social media, and that was all gone. We didn't have that. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have internet. We didn't have TV. We had nothing. We had each other and we had the beach. And after about a month, something clicked, and we just had the most incredible experience, and it changed all of our lives and our relationships with each other. And our son was having his own experience being at boarding school by himself with, in a dormitory with other kids. It's an international school, so he had not only was he dealing with other kids, but he had other cultures as well. His roommate was South Korean. Guys on his hockey team were from Russia, Czech Republic, Sweden, from all over the world. So, we were all having our own sort of individual and group experience at the same time. And we were sold. We came back and ultimately found a house that was way too big to rent for a little while. And while we were thinking about buying land, and we bought our land and built our house. And like you said, a couple of years ago, there was a tiny house flying around the internet that was going viral. That was probably our house. That went completely insane. We've got almost 8 million views on our YouTube tour right now, and our house definitely revolutionized the tiny house movement. Although it was a fantastic movement, we made some changes to it that in our design that really seem to have taken hold and have made a big impact on the movement overall, which is very exciting to see.
So right now you are in this house, right now in this tiny house things, yeah?
Right at this moment, I'm not.
Okay, so I was just like, oh shit.
No, I'm actually not.
I'm there when the press are coming round.
I could be. Right now, I'm actually in a tree house. We have a tree house for our son, which is sort of his private space if he needs to go. So he's almost 20 now, so it's nice to have a little space of his own. Although he spends most of his time in our house anyway, which is pretty cool. But no, I actually came over here because Gabriella, my wife, is in town and she'll be coming home sometime during this interview, and our dogs will definitely bark like crazy. And I figured, why ruin the recording? We'll just keep going.
It happens every time with Tim. He has the dogs, just behind.
I saw
him.
the dog.
It happens every time. Every time a dog is barking. Yeah,
I've got 3 Dobermans, so yeah, there's something going down.
So, but you see, this tiny house movement, as you said, in 2 years ago it was huge. Right now, how is it doing right now at the moment?
It's growing. Yeah? It's growing. It's even bigger now. Yeah. It started quite a while ago. I can't remember exactly when Jay built his first tiny house. I think it was in 1998 or something like that. So it was quite a while ago. And then the movement, started to pick up a little bit. And we've been in our house 2.5 years now. So about 2.5, 3 years ago, it had a sort of blip. It jumped up. And when we released our design, it jumped again. And it's still growing. As an example, we did last year, we worked on an event called the Tiny House Jamboree. A friend of ours put that event on, and I was a keynote speaker there. And when we started, we thought maybe we'd get 2,000 or 3,000 people to show up. And the day before the event started, there were 10,000 people pre-registered. And then by the time the weekend had ended, in 2 days of people coming in and out, over 40,000 people had come through the doors. Wow. So the movement is just growing and growing and growing. And it's even, I'd say there's even more press about it now, certainly here in the U.S., because there's some big changes being made in terms of zoning and codes and things that are making it a little bit easier to build tiny houses. So it's pretty exciting.
So why it's happening actually? Why it's still growing? What's behind that? What's the causes, if you want?
I think the biggest cause is the lack of affordable housing. I mean, the world over, but certainly here in the U.S., we've got a major. I mean, we see it. What was the study that came out recently that said that the top 50% of the wealth is owned by 62 people in the world? I mean, that's not conducive to anything, and that shows up.
By the way, Tim is one of them. So
right.
Remember he has a 17.
Tim, I should get your email address so we can connect more personally on that level.
Okay.
We have a housing situation here in the U.S. that there are really nice houses that are way oversized. A family of 3 living in a 6-bedroom house. Just sorry, Tim, if I'm offending you, but.
I'm offended by everything, and don't worry about it.
Okay, perfect. That'll make it easy.
Don't be offended that I'm easily offended.
So these houses they're really oversized. They're not environmentally sustainable. They're way too expensive. They're very expensive to build. They're very expensive to heat and cool. They're expensive to rent. So even our rental prices are going higher and higher now. We were just looking at some real estate in our town where we live, and there was literally a 2-bedroom house that the bedrooms were tiny. I mean, absolutely tiny, barely a legal bedroom. And it was falling apart. It was built in the 40s. It was a very old, rundown house, and the asking price was $235,000. Now, that's not, that someone who's just starting out, or a retired person, or a young family, or a couple. I mean, there's all kinds of demographics that this tiny house movement fits, because there's such a huge gap in the housing market between what's crappy housing, and then when you get into nice housing, it's not affordable. It's become so expensive, even to rent. It's too expensive to rent for most people these days. So the tiny house movement is an option for creating a beautiful home that meets all of our needs, and it doesn't kill us at the bank. Our house cost $33,000. That's just materials, but $33,000 to build. The average down payment in a house in the U.S. is $50,000. So we came in $17,000 under a down payment for a regular house, and we're done. We don't have a house payment anymore. We don't have to pay anything now.
But at the same time, you have a house. It's a big thing. It's a huge thing,
Sure.
for everyone. At my age, everyone asking me, but why don't you have a house? You should buy something. You should protect yourself. You're just throwing money out of the window because you're renting right now.
Sure.
And the model that we have is, it's almost you need to have a big house. It's a status thing. It's an achievement thing. It's just like, okay, show me your house. It's like you this is
show
I made it.
Penis.
Like it's almost like that. It's exactly that. Yeah, let me show me my dick. This is it. Like this is how this huge stuff. So it's but you see where I'm going here. It's almost like the opposite. It's just like it's cheap. You don't take a loan for 30 years, and you don't and it's tiny as well. It's small, not like your penis, Tim, because anyway, I won't go there.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. But you see where I'm going. It's almost we are changing, the way that we have been raised and brought up, basically.
Oh, we absolutely are. Yeah. I mean, it's not even that we almost are changing it. We are. I mean, certainly in the U.S., it's a very consumer focused society. Mm-hmm. So everything here, I haven't had TV connected to actually watching TV in years, and so I'm a little bit saved by this. But when I travel and I go to hotels, I watch TV, and every other commercial is either telling you that what you have isn't good enough, or it's some drug to make you healthier, quote unquote, which I'm sure it doesn't actually do. But it's a consumer-driven society. So to fit into society, our job is to buy the newest phone possible and the nicest, biggest house possible, the best car we can. And we do all of this, and then we're totally shit out of luck. We have no money to do anything with. We have no life left. We're working so hard that there's no time for family. There's no time for relaxation. On average, in the U.S., people spend about 27% of their income just on paying for their housing. That's a huge amount of income. And then you've got health insurance, which we pay out an arm and a leg for here. You've got housing insurance. That's just the housing payment. So it doesn't include upkeep or maintenance or anything like that. You've got insurance, you've got food, you've got gas, you've got school tuitions, all this stuff, and there's just nothing left. So it's a totally different way of looking at housing. And people can look at me and say that my family, that we're crazy and that we're living outside the norm and we're nuts and it's a fad and all of that. And cool, you can say that as much as you want. I only have to work a couple hours a day and I've paid for my lifestyle. And if we want to take a trip and go somewhere, we go. We don't have to worry about it. So it's, to me, a measure of success is more about a personal measure. So that, like you guys are talking about measuring dicks about who has the bigger house, I don't really care who has a bigger house than me. It's fine if you want that. I'm all for it. Have a big house. I don't think it's sustainable for our environment, so that impact comes in. But is it sustainable for you? Are you happy? Do you find that spending 27% of your income is really worth it? And by the way, 27% of your income, I did a little math on this in my TEDx presentation. And if you look at how many hours a week people work, and how many hours they're spending in their vehicle driving to and from work, and how many hours they're asleep, it leaves you with about 5 hours a day during the week that you're actually in your house. And that includes, your cooking, your cleaning, all of those things. So you're spending 27% of your income on a house that you're only using 5 hours a day. That's insanity to me. I don't understand why someone would do that.
Well, I work from home, so I've just blown that theory out the window.
I work from home
just from a personal perspective,
Yeah, sure. No, but same thing. So we have a 207 square foot house and whatever that is, 20 square meters. And my wife and I both work from home. So, same thing. We're making the money. We have the room to do it. We have all of our needs met. We've got a full-size kitchen. We've got plenty of space. So, and again, to me, people say, well, how big is a tiny house? to me, 207 square feet is the perfect size. For a family of five, probably not. They're probably going to be bigger. For a single person, maybe they could be a little smaller. One of my sisters just recently downsized into like a 4,000 square foot house. She was in a bigger house, and it felt small to her to make that move. So it's all personal. It's whatever fits for you. So if you find that Tim, if you like the size house you're in, you're comfortable and you're able to afford it and you're happy and things are good, more power to you. No problem with that at all.
Does he look happy to you? I don't think so. Look at him. He's miserable because of his big house. You need to downsize your house, man.
I'm not sure how my Dobermans would react to that. I mean, three. What would be a good size house for just a couple and three mental Dobermans?
Well, I've never owned Dobermans, so that's something I can't really comment on. But you could. I mean, I have a friend who lives in about 180 square feet, and she has two Great Danes. It's a couple with two Great Danes. Those are big dogs.
Jesus Christ. Does the roof go up and down as the Great Danes walk around? Wow.
It might too. I don't know.
But is it something else? Because you mentioned downsizing, so you're downsizing the living space, but there's something else that you need to do as well. It means that all that we acquire, all the junk that we have, there's no space for that. It means that you need to look not only at your house but everything that you own. Basically, it's a different mindset. Basically,
absolutely, it's much more than just. I like to tell people that tiny house living is really not about the house. It's more about the lifestyle change. So the changing how we shop so that consumerism is not our primary focus anymore. We have limited space in our house. So when I just recently, actually yesterday, I went out and I went shopping and I bought a new pair of pants. So now I have to get rid of a pair of pants. And I don't have room to just add clothes. Oh yeah.
You don't have room for two pair of pants.
Well, no, I have several pairs of pants, but because I got a new pair, there's not room for that one. So, so now I wait until I needed to get new jeans because I had holes in my jeans. So I waited until the holes really showed up, and then I went and bought a new pair of jeans. As opposed to, and that I guess I could tell you the story of yesterday. The imprinting is still there. So when I went shopping, I got a really nice pair of pants, and they were, $60. And I thought, well, okay, I don't buy pants all that often. I'll get them. And I really liked them. And then when I bought them, I found out they were on sale. They were half off. And I was like, oh, I should get two. But then I realized I don't need two of the same pair of pants. But it's that, the buy one, get one free thing. Yeah. They love selling us on that stuff. But that's just not how we live our lives anymore. We live a much more simple life. We'd rather have money around so that we can travel and do the things that we want to do with our family, as opposed to buy stuff and always have the newest, best things in our house. It's a totally different lifestyle.
So let me get this right. You bought a pair of pants that were buy one, get one free, and you declined the free pair. You said,
That's right.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Couldn't you have dug a hole in the yard or something and buried them and wrapped them in something, and then when you needed a new pair, you got a pair there? It seems like if there were.
I suppose it's possible, but I'm 43, so by the time this pair of pants wears out, will I have gained 5 pounds? Will I still fit in them? Will I? I can't wear both at the same.
So defeatist. Oh, dear.
What's that?
That's so defeatist. It was.
Man, we won't save the planet with your consumerism, man. This is what he's trying to tell you, right?
I know, but I can't get my head around. Well, they were free. I mean, if it was buy one get one half.
You're so American. You used to be British and to be sensible. Now
I know. If it was buy one get one half price, I understand. Buy one get one free. We'll leave them in the car or something. I don't know. It just.
But and that's totally. I totally understand where you're going with that.
Those pedal cars. Those pedal. I said we got a tiny car as well, because I said leave them in the car.
Oh yeah. No, I just have a bike. I don't have. No, I'm kidding.
Man, you should have said that you had a bike.
Yeah, I just walk everywhere. No, the reality is, I totally understand what you're saying, and they're sure a buy one get one free. It's a great deal. There's no doubt it's free. Why would I say no to it? But the reality is I don't need it.
Yeah.
So if I don't need it, why would I take it? If I leave it in the store, then somebody else can get it.
Yeah, but you could give it to charity. I don't know. I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'd have taken them.
Sure.
Yeah,
I'd rather burn them.
you,
Not have them when they get buy one get one free.
Are you voting for Trump now? Because did you change board like sides like in a week's time? What's happened to you now? You know, I thought you were like liberal with me, like from a left somehow. You know, and you are caring about the environment. You know, what happened to you?
Well, I'm joking. I wouldn't really burn them, but I'd rather take them and go and take them and drop them off at a charity store than leave them with a store that's probably making a shitload of money anyway, and whatever. I don't know.
Okay.
So he's more radical than I am. He wants to screw the man and take
radical.
the money from them and give it to which is great.
Yeah,
he's radical. He's real radical.
Maybe if I had thought of that, if I'd say, hey, I could have got them from free and just given them to someone or given them to charity, that would be fine with that. I certainly don't need to. The problem is the more that we buy things, the more that they make things, and so there's definitely this level of like. So like with iPhones, right? You have to have the iPhone 6 or whatever we're at now. So what happens to all the old phones?
No, I don't. No, I don't.
There you go.
I'm not on my second one because my first one broke and I had to go to the Apple store yesterday. 2 days
So
ago.
like what components of the iPhone 6 are that much better than the iPhone 5 that you guys got rid of your 5s and got 6s?
It's absolutely shit.
They tell us in the ad, for God's sake. They said, they said that it's better. You know.
Exactly.
It's worse. It's the worst iPhone I've ever had. This is.
And that's what they'll do. I mean, anyone who's running a business is going to tell you that the newest product that they have is their best product because they want you to buy it. But when you buy it, those 5s that you had, where do they go? They get thrown out, or they get maybe recycled, or maybe they get donated to charity. But now they've got to make more 6s to keep everybody happy because everyone's buying 6s. So it's this consumerism loop that happens that our planet cannot handle this much consumerism. We're already seeing significant changes, and it's only going to get worse. I mean, if we keep cutting down trees to build houses that we don't even need, and then burning fossil fuels to heat and cool the houses that we don't need, and then buying more and more stuff that we don't need because we have space, and space is a vacuum, so we fill it with extra clothes and extra shoes and extra tools and toys, and it's not sustainable. We can't as a species, I'll even say, we can't keep doing this. It's not gonna last, and something tremendously bad is going to happen eventually at some level if we don't make significant changes.
Do you think that'll happen in the next 30 or 40 years?
Man, I have no idea. I
just wondering because if it won't, then I'm all right. Well,
I used to hear about things changing with the climate and temperatures warming and the ocean levels rising and all of that, and it seems scary. And then the newer models say that we're actually more screwed than we thought we were. Things are going to change a lot faster than we thought they were.
Yeah.
So who knows? And I have 2 kids. So if it happens in the next 30 or 40 years, I'll be, maybe 80 something by the time that's all come around. And maybe I'll live to be 90 or 100. But I have kids, and they'll eventually be having kids. And I got to think about, when I tell people when they build houses, build the house for your kids at best. Like, don't build it for you. Build your house for your kids. And that's sort of how I look at the future is, how can I bring children into the world and then be like, screw it, it'll be fine. If it's the world's not going to collapse until 40 or 50 years from now, I'll be long gone by then. Well, that's not really fair to my kids or their kids.
I haven't got kids, so and I don't know. I don't know.
Shut
I
up.
don't know your kids.
Shut up.
Shut up. Your kids, but I just I don't know.
And Andrew, we are joking, but actually we are on your side. Don't worry about that.
I'm not worried at all.
No, but we are really.
It's burst into tears. What do you think?
We are really on your side, and that's why you're on this program, because it's we had actually Guy McPherson, Guy McPherson. Maybe you know this guy who is actually predicting that we'll all be extinct in 2030 because of climate change. His model of how you say that? Basically, climate change or temperature rising. But it basically said that we are a heat engine. The civilization as we are like now, we're just eating everything. Like the temperature is rising, so we need to change. We need to change, but radically. We don't have even, for me, time to enough time, because as you mentioned. I believe the month of February was the hottest month ever recorded. February, the hottest month ever recorded. Period. So it's really scary, and to me is will we be able to do this? Will we be able to change this mentality? Fine, you have a tiny house movement, but is it fast enough? What do you think, Andrew?
Right. Yeah, who knows whether it's fast enough or not? I think it's a great question. I would love to think it is, but if it's not, it's a piece. I mean, I'm not naive enough to think that the entire world is going to decide to live in a 200 square foot space each, and then what happens to all these big houses? Like, we just burn them down, and that contributes to the smoke and nastiness. So that's not going to work.
We can storm them. We can storm the palaces with torches and.
I mean, I can tell Tim likes to burn things, so we might set him on that.
He's a violent guy,
He'd be all for it, I'm sure.
By the way, Andrew, do you know what Tim does as a living? Because he's very violent. He's a life coach, So this is
good.
It explains the violence thing.
The world needs more violent life coaches.
Slightly more aggressive than the normal life coach, I guess.
Yes.
But I don't know if it's enough to change the world, but it's certainly a piece, and we all have to do our part, and so it's a part that we're comfortable with and we enjoy doing, and we like living this way, so it fits us. And it's, I never get the quote exactly right, but the theory behind it, what Gandhi said, is be the change that you want to see in the world, and that's exactly how we live our lives. We want to see people having less of an impact on the planet. We want to see people happier. We want to see people having time for their families and having time for themselves. And creating deeper communities and just a better, healthier planet. And I can tell people to do that all day long, but if I'm not living that as a model for those people, then I'm a hypocrite. So for me, it's I do life coaching as well, and I teach the tools that I teach are from a place of where I live and how I live my life and how I create and develop relationships in my life.
That's great.
I tweak that quote a little bit to be the change I want to see in the world. So people, they can change that, because that's what I want to see. You all go and live in small houses, and I'll have a big one. But no, I live down the road from a place called Isleworth, and I think the smallest house on there is like about 8,000 square feet. Tiger Woods lives there, or he did. I'm not sure if he still lives there. And a lot of the US Ryder Cup team live there. And I had to go on there one time to meet somebody, and it was like the security to get on there. But it was, there was people employed. There was obviously Mexican, sorry, Donald Trump, but they were running around catching leaves as they fell off the trees, so it didn't actually, not really, but that was the kind of place it was, and it was just, it just becomes a dick measuring competition. I don't know how I've managed to get back to that again.
Because you're
obsessed. We live in a 2,000 foot square house, I must say, and we have guest bedrooms where we don't have guests.
Yeah.
Especially now, Ellen's mum died recently, and so they used to come over fairly often. And it is ridiculous. It's like when people are buying houses, well, we need a spare bedroom. It's just like, for the money you've paid for that bedroom, you could have actually bought a smaller house. You could have put them up in the fucking Ritz-Carlton, with full service for like 2 weeks. For the extra
not only the cost, because it costs you more to buy that house or build it, depending on what you're doing, but that cost doesn't go away, right? So now you live in this house with 1 or 2 extra guest bedrooms. You're still conditioning those spaces, right? They don't seal off, and you're heating and cooling those spaces as well. So it's a never-ending cost. As opposed to, like,
I flipped the thing on the air conditioning in the bedroom.
That helps. That helps.
For fuck's sake, man! You need to downsize now, Tim. You don't need this room, this extra.
Tell my wife this. You're gonna have no bollocks about 10 minutes later. Tell my wife.
Oh, okay, that's fine. So that's fine. We need to tell Ellen then,
We'll have her on as a guest.
No, I don't want to do that.
No.
I'm afraid now. But I was meant to say something. Yeah, because you said downsizing, and I see something which is parallel, which is the minimalist movement as well. Being minimalist, it's the same thing to me. It's you can relate to that basically.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So. To me,
Great
it's
question then.
I know, but to me,
I nailed it. That question.
Fuck, man. But for me, it's hard. That's the thing. You know, for me, it's extremely hard to think this way. Look, you know, I'm in Paris. You know, I have so much stuff around me. You know,
Yeah.
I have.
Show me your guitars.
Yeah,
He's got about 9 guitars.
I have 12 guitars.
12
you know, why should I
guitars.
have 12 guitars? If you ask me, because I need one. You know, that's the mentality that I was brought on. You know,
Sure.
but. And what can help me? You know, what will be the advice? You know, for me to say, wake up. You know, you're just stupid now. What you need to do now is something just to rethink your life and live small. You know, what can you ask me or tell me?
Well, I think it's about it's really about getting honest with yourself and with the people around you. So I play guitar too. I live in a, like you said, tiny house. I have let's see, how many guitars do I have here? I have I have 2 guitars and a banjo. My daughter has 2 guitars as well. So that's
that's
5
fine.
Yeah, we've
instruments.
got to the bottom of it. Yeah.
But so those things are important, right? So if 12 guitars are important to you, then that's something that you have to look at honestly. Like, are those really important to you? So for me, I have my nice 6-string guitar, and I have a 12-string guitar. So those are important to me. And banjo, it's a totally different instrument.
Are 12 strings really necessary?
Oh, it is. Believe me.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
every
absolutely.
Chinese guitar. Can't you
Obviously,
make
he
it?
doesn't play guitar, right?
He doesn't play guitar. He doesn't know shit. Okay, let's start a podcast together, Andrew. I think it will be better.
Just hit mute on Tim's one. We can keep the video. That's fine. No, so it's about, like I said earlier, it's really, there's no right number. It's about scale. It's about human scale. It's about what's appropriate and what's right for you. So the questions to ask yourself are: do you need 12 guitars? Is it maybe you could get away with 2 or 3 or 4? Find out what those are about. And I think what you'll find in the process of that, and not just the guitars, but everything else, of downsizing and simplifying and getting rid of things in your life, you'll find 2 things, at least we did. You'll find that there's a lot of emotional stuff that's connected with our things. So we've tied stories to our stuff. The hardest thing for me to get rid of was a backpack, a camping backpack that I had from years ago when I used to follow the Grateful Dead around the U.S. And I had so many stories wrapped up in this backpack that it was hard to get rid of. Huh?
Did most of them involve acid? Taking acid?
Well, no, because then I wouldn't remember them, right? I mean, that was a
Oh,
thing.
come on. It's the Grateful Dead. Everybody took acid.
So I had all these stories there, and getting rid of that bag was really hard for me. But once I recognized that it wasn't the bag, it was the stories, I was able to let go of the bag. And now I think about the stories a lot more now. So it's about going through the emotional stuff that we've tied into our physical things. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing that happens when you start doing that is there's a huge freedom in not having stuff. There's an incredible freedom about having the minimalist lifestyle. There's less to worry about. There's less things to tote around with you if you move. Life is simpler. It's less expensive. It's more fun. Our stuff starts to own us after a while. I mean, I don't know, Tim, when the last time you moved from your 2,000 into your 2,000 square foot house, but I imagine there was a lot of stuff that you had to do, and it was probably stressful, boxing it all up, packing it all up, moving the furniture, doing all that, and then redistributing it in a new house, finding things didn't fit. Now you got to buy new stuff. There's a lot of stress that goes with that is it's been part of our lives as humans because it's what our societies have told us that's what we're supposed to do. So until you question it, you don't notice how freeing it is to actually let go of that stuff. It's incredible.
Actually, you're right. My butler said it was stressful when we moved. I was in Barbados on a 2-week cruise at the time, but he had a terrible time. But no, we downsized. Actually, we went from 3,000 square foot, but that we'd rented with a pool, to a 2,000 square. I'm one of these people that if I haven't worn like an item of clothing for a couple of years, I'm more than happy to give it away or give it to charity or want to get rid of stuff. And when we first got married, or when we first moved to this country, I suppose, really, we had a walk-in wardrobe, and we had half each. And gradually, bit by bit, my wife's half has gone further and further around till I'm left with about a quarter, and she's got about 3/4 now. But I think trying to talk her into this, it would be Ooh.
Oh, scary.
Oh, yeah, scary. I'm not bothered. I mean, and, yeah, I'm sat in a shabby t-shirt and what have you. I don't give a shit for that. I used to big time when I was in sales. You know, it's all about having a boss, a Hugo Boss suit or an Armani suit, and having the best vacations and 5-star hotels and whatever. But I'm really not bothered now. But she still is. So I'll divorce her and I'll cite you as the reason on the papers.
But actually, it's true as well, because I told you before at the very beginning, I'm not. I don't want to buy a house. You know, I'm just, something bothers me. Just to take a loan for 20 years or 30 years or something like that. Something like it's the opposite of freedom to me. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's a strong pressure from my wife, actually, just like Tim, maybe, but we need security. We need, you need to buy something. We need to invest something, in something which is concrete. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to sound sexist at all right now, because I don't know where I'm going right now. But
you're going the wrong way.
I'm doing it the wrong way, and I think I will go to bed outside, or so she will kick me out now because I'm making fun of her. But. Is it like this between freedom and security? What is there like an opposition there, or what's the deal?
Well, you can certainly have both. It's not an either or. It's a both and. Mm-hmm. So in terms of like for security, so we own our property. Mm-hmm. So we live in a house that we own. So that's secure, right? And then in terms of freedom, we have more time and money to do the things that we want to do. And if you're really looking at security, is there security in a 30-year commitment mortgage? I mean, we've seen in the U.S. that's been a huge. I mean, there's been a massive number of foreclosures in the last 10 years because people were upside down on their houses, and the economy took a downturn. People lose jobs, and then they can't make their house payments, and then they're done. We don't have a house payment, So in terms of security, there is no better security than owning your house 100%. It took me 3 months to get used to that. I would wake up in the middle of the night and think, oh crap, I didn't pay the mortgage, and be in this moment of panic, and then realize I don't have a mortgage. I own my house. And that's a huge relief. That's security. We're off the grid, so we produce our own electricity through solar power. We don't have a power bill.
Can't do that in Florida. It's illegal.
Florida, it's illegal.
Yeah, and that's going to change. That's ridiculous. That sort of stuff is going to change. That's the last gasp of corporations hanging on to desperation of trying to milk every penny out of us. But to tell us that we're not allowed to collect rainwater, we're not allowed to create our own electricity, we're not allowed to take care of ourselves is insane. And that insanity is coming to light more and more.
You're a communist, aren't you?
Oh, we found you out.
That's it.
Yeah.
I may as well just declare it now, I guess. It's
you have to, man. Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome to the club. That's okay.
My point with all of that is, if you're talking about wanting to have security and freedom, I can't think of a better way to have that than to not have a 30-year tie to a mortgage. I mean, that's better security and better freedom in the same way.
I'd like to say two things. First of all, let's be honest, security doesn't exist. I mean, it's a man-made construct that you could lose your ability to work or whatever, and suddenly security's gone. But I get what you're saying. I think it's an important point. We can be more secure financially. Second of all, if I lived in a tiny house, I wouldn't have to be gone for about 15 seconds now to fetch a new beer. But because I live in this fucking house where I've got to walk about 100 feet to the fridge, I'm going to be gone for about 15 seconds. So that just proves your point.
Okay, so don't worry. It does this kind of stuff. The other stuff I wanted to ask you is about the price of houses, actually, because you've been building houses for 20 years. This is what you said, or more than 20 years. But how come, let's say, that when my grandfather maybe could buy his house after 10 years, basically, taking a loan for 10 years. Now, we need to take a loan for 30 years. What happened? why the price of a house is so expensive now. Before it's ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous, because you're an architect. You know that the raw material is not that expensive. The actual price of a house to make a house, which by the way now are most shit now, the way that are constructed. Why are they so expensive now?
Yeah, they are shit. You're right.
Yeah, of
So,
course.
Yeah, I think just to be clear, I'm not an architect, but I have been a builder for 20 years, and so I think the biggest cost in housing is labor, and labor costs have gone up considerably, which I think is good, because they're putting labor into an ability to make a living. You can actually survive now by providing labor, whereas many years ago that wasn't an option. So that's definitely gone up. Housing prices have gone up also because of material costs. There's a lot more that goes into a house now. So maybe maybe the construction isn't quite what it used to be. And I think that's true in some cases. And in other cases here in the U.S., some of the old houses are pretty crappy built. So they're actually better built now, and they're safer. They also have, we're always trying to make them more energy efficient. So there's more details that go into the construction of the house to make it more energy efficient. And once you get it tighter and sealed up, now you've got to put in new mechanical systems that are going to allow you to get fresh air circulation in the house, and to make sure you're not creating mold in the walls. And so every time they take a step forward and create something that adds value to the house, it actually has a waterfall effect on other systems in the house that now have to be upgraded and become more expensive and fancier. So I think the housing costs have just continued to rise as a result of that. And another issue is land. Land costs have gotten very expensive. Where we live, we got our land. We got a very good price on our land, about a third of what the neighboring properties are. But land in our area is crazy expensive. I mean, you could spend almost $200,000 on buying 5 acres of raw land with no power, no water, nothing. And so that gets factored into the cost of the house. When you're building a house, you're paying for the land and the house together, and then mortgaging that for 30 years. And then people, they want to have a reasonable mortgage. So you could build a house and pay for it in 10 years if you had a $3,000 mortgage. But most people want to keep their mortgage at about $1,000 or $1,200 or $1,500 in that area. So, if you look at a loan, if you look at a 30-year loan, you're buying your property and your house. I think it's 3 times, or is it 5 times? I can't remember. But you basically pay 3 to 5 times the actual cost of what your house was. That's the benefit to you. You get to pay for it that many times more because they stretch it out over so many years. The interest that the banks are making first 10 years of your loan, you're not paying down the principal at all. You're just paying interest. That's all you're doing. So there's a lot of reasons for houses.
I look at my mortgage every month. It goes down by about $550. I thought that, and that's the case in the UK. And I was surprised. I was only talking to Helen, my wife, about this the other day. I was saying for how short a period we've lived in it, how much we've paid down on it already. So I don't know why. I mean, I know we got a like 3.25% locked in, so it's a very low, and we're paying a fairly high mortgage. I wish we were paying the $1,200 that you mentioned. We're paying close to $2,000. But it's coming down by about 500. But I do get what you're saying. I still think we'll probably be paying that 3 to 5 times more.
Yeah, and you may have a more aggressive mortgage pay down system than other people have. I don't know, but if you think about a car loan, if people are buying a $30,000 car and it's taking them 6 years to pay it off, why does it take 6 years to pay $33,000? And if you're paying $350,000, it's going to go on forever. It's going to be an incredibly long process to pay that house down. Maybe it's the same thing with schools. Like you look at the cost of schools in the U.S. and it used to be that you could work you could work 2 jobs, go to school and work a couple part-time jobs and pay off your school tuition by the end of the year. Now the ratio of what things cost, so school costs are so high, and minimum wage hasn't barely moved at all. Yeah. So people can't pay it off anymore. So now they're going into debt. They're getting these $70,000 or more in debt for their schooling, and then coming out and not having a job they can pay for it. Now they're stuck in that trap as well.
Yeah.
So it's that whole thing of the cost of living is getting higher and higher and higher and higher, whether it's the cost of housing, the cost of education, the cost of healthcare, all of these things are going up. But the wages aren't. They're not following it. And that's creating this. I mean, again, that comes back to what's creating this problem, and certainly in the U.S. of why people can't afford housing. There are people who can't afford they're diabetic and they can't afford to buy the little test strips that test their blood sugar because those are $1 a strip. People can't afford that, and it's like their life is dependent on it. That's terrible. There's a major problem with the separation of finances.
We're going down a whole different path here, where I'm just likely to explode with indignation. I mean, my wife's in oncology. She's just doing her oncology doctorate. She's worked in oncology for 20 odd years, and it's cost us a fortune. And her best friend, who's a doctor, who's an oncologist, and she doesn't like it, but she's got so much student debt, so much. There's no way she could ever leave it. And without, because you can't even, Olivia, I'm guessing you probably know this, but you may not, that in the US, you can, if you go into bankruptcy, you cannot write off student debt. Right. It stays with you your entire life. It doesn't and they charge you. I mean, I think on Helen's loan, we're paying 6%.
Is it 6?
Wow. When our mortgage is 3.25%, so they charge you double the rate, and you can never walk away from it, no matter what your financial circumstances are. So I'll say this in public. My financial plan really is, if things ever got sticky for us, is to just fuck off back to England and say, bye, find us over there. I'm not, I don't give a damn. It wouldn't bother me owing Sally May, $100,000 or whatever. And I think it's just disgraceful that the two things to me that are most important in a civilized society are health and education, and the two things that we screw people most badly over.
Oh yeah, they're both completely unaffordable. The number of bankruptcies that are caused by people having some type of health crisis and they can't pay for it, and then they end up bankrupt. But they're bankrupt, like you say, they're bankrupt, but they still have to take on their school loans, even though they almost died and they couldn't get the health care they needed. I mean, it's a travesty. The country has got some major problems, and housing is a piece of that problem.
So should we vote for Trump? Is it what you said?
That is definitely not what I said.
Because he's not bothered about money at all. I have to say, I'm a rich man, but I'm humble and I care for people. And anyway, I almost want to use the C word, and I won't. But he is.
Okay, forget it.
No, I can't think of anything to say.
Okay, he's an asshole. Okay, fine. We all love Bernie. That's okay. So, Andrew, anything? We are approaching the hour, so we are approaching the end of this parody of a podcast. So thank you for still having hung up on us. So very, very kind of you. Very nice of you.
I wish you could see round, actually. Is it just like a one-room tree house? I mean, is the tree though just like, is it what I imagine from my childhood as being like a tree house?
No, probably not. It's a total mess right now. So he's a 19-year-old kid.
No, I didn't mean the inside. I mean, if we saw it from the outside, is it like 10 feet up in the tree?
Yeah. So there's a staircase that comes up. It's about, I think, the bottom of the treehouse, the bottom of the frame for the treehouse is about 7 feet up off of the ground, and then it goes up from there. And it's got tall ceilings up behind. You can kind of see it goes up. So it's pretty tall ceilings behind me there.
Yeah, that's useful. So I always find space 14 feet above me to be useful. Yeah,
it isn't a small space because you can put a second bunk up there. And his closet is double tiered, so he's got lots of space in the closet as well.
He could have bought the extra pair of pants then.
He could have the extra pair of pants. Yeah.
Why? You could have bought the pants and said, "Do you mind if I just store these in your treehouse just for a short period of time?"
I'm not going to be able to make it to the end of the interview because I got to go back to town and grab those pants. I got to go get them.
I think you need now.
I think I need Tim's mailing address. I'm going to send the pants to him.
Oh, that's it. We did it. Anything you would like to tell our audience, our small audience, if you have to give them a message or anything?
I think it would be just following up on what I said, and that's to take a deep, hard look at where you're at in your life and check in with yourself about where your level of happiness is, and be honest. Be honest about where your true joys come from, and if you could be happier by working less, or if you could be happier by paying less for your housing, then why not take a step towards doing that? To me, we have a very short time on this planet, and it makes no sense to be willing to put down my happiness so that I can, quote unquote, fit the norm. That just doesn't make sense to me.
Cool. Okay, I won't buy a house now. That's okay. That's fine.
Yeah, and I'm selling mine. I'm going to burn it down. In
And it sounds like both your wives are going to hunt me down when it's over.
I think that's it. I will say it's Andrew's fault. In any case, it's Andrew. He told us, I want to be happy. Andrew is guilty. Thank you, Andrew, for these awesome things, and yeah, I'm convinced. I was convinced before, but I wanted for you to tell me again.
I'm convinced at an intellectual level. I'm definitely convinced at an intellectual. I need to tell my greedy gut, though, that you don't need any more.
You don't need that, man. Of course you don't need that. Let's build a tiny house together. Let's have like be neighbors, on a tiny house. No, I don't want that either. Okay, not neighbors. I want a tiny house, but not with you. Thank you. Okay, we on this note, thank you, Andrew. It was awesome. And
thanks for having.
And we can stop, I think.
All right.
You did a very clean break there.
Yeah.